Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Friday. Means we're brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp, working towards a weekend. I hope you've gotten to that finish line. If not, we'll get you there on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Jordan Kitchens, Taylor Sharp back there on the ones and twos, and we're fired up. You are here. We got a lot to do on this regional Friday here in Baton Rouge, but there's just no baseball here in Baton Rouge. It's still regional Friday, just not any baseball. We got a lot to talk about. I do want to start with a little bit of baseball. We'll talk to Preston Guy about a big recruiting weekend in town coming up in 15 minutes. I've got a list at 1:30 of the best 5 regional games of the Jay Johnson era that I wanted to get to. I wrote about it at LouisianaSports.net just to give some positive vibes on LSU baseball here coming up in 30 minutes. So we'll do that. I'll give you my thoughts on the regionals that are underway. Matthew Paris is going to be here at 2 o'clock to give us some updates from Saints OTAs, which the media got a good look at yesterday. Texas Tech's trying to flex their muscles and looking silly doing it. We'll talk about all of that. Let's get started with our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive. Presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
You know, I was curious how I was going to feel today. I think everyone's probably handling things a little bit differently. There are probably a big facet of you that are just checked out for the summer or whatever. LSU sports is over. There's probably a facet of you that are going, man, I'm just sick watching this tournament and LSU is not in it. That just disgusts me. And then I kind of find myself, I was curious how it'd feel today when it started. On Monday, when they did the selection show, I was kind of bummed, but I was curious. I wanted to see how things shaped out, and I was interested watching the selection show without, focusing laserly on where LSU was going to be sitting. And I found myself, as the action started today, curious how my emotion would be. And I'll tell you, East Carolina and Tennessee are playing a whale of a baseball game right now. It's the bottom of the 7th inning. Both teams have had runners at third base thrown out, one trying to score, one going back to third base and scoring opportunities. It's been an awesome game. Milwaukee is just teeing off on Auburn. They just scored again. It is 7-0 Milwaukee, who opened the season here, and I've kind of enjoyed watching the intrigue of that. I'm enjoying it. My heart was not broken last week. My heart was not broken on Monday. My heart was broken in late April. So I've recovered. I'm back at it. I'm out here. And I'm enjoying watching the baseball. I'm going to watch a lot of baseball this weekend. I'm going to watch a lot of baseball next weekend. And I'm going to watch the College World Series, and I'm excited about it. I don't have that feeling that I had, honestly, 2 years ago. In 2024, when LSU got Gage jumped to the mound in Chapel Hill, had a chance to win that regional, and came up short in extra innings. And the next weekend, I remember being at my wife's cousin's house. We were at their pool. The kids were swimming and whatever, and they had the Supers on. And I don't remember who Georgia was playing. They lost. Virginia, maybe? I'm not sure. It doesn't matter. But I was watching, and I just couldn't watch it. I was like, I hate this. LSU just lost a Monday finish, heartbreaker. I can't do this. I don't feel that way today. I feel like I want to watch some baseball this weekend, so I'm excited to do that. But LSU won't be playing. What will be the case is that LSU is going to get its summer assignments together. And I want to talk about 3 guys who I think have a big summer ahead of them. Now, keep in mind, there was a time where everyone went off to summer ball. You either went to Cape Cod, or you went to the Northwoods League, or you played for Team USA, or you did both of those with Cape Cod and Team USA. Everybody just played. Pitchers went out there and got some innings. That's just what you did in the summer. And things have been scaled down significantly, especially at LSU. Jay Johnson is very careful with his guys in summer ball. Derek Curiel did not play summer ball last year. Kason Evans was shut down last year in the summer after a long, hard season as a freshman. William Schmidt didn't play any summer baseball. He just went and worked on his game with some mechanics. So it's not like everybody goes off and plays. And I don't have right now a perfect list of LSU summer assignments as a 3-run home run by Milwaukee, who's now up 10-0 at Auburn in the 3rd inning. Can't believe it. But back to LSU. I don't know exactly what everybody's going to do. I'm going to find out, and I'll publish it, what I know, at LouisianaSports.net. But I don't know where everyone's going. I don't know what the plans are for everyone. But I still think that there are some development things that are going to have to happen over the course of the next 5 months. I'll lump in summer with fall ball. And it's important for these three guys that I singled out over at LouisianaSports.net. And the first one, I think, has the biggest summer ahead of him because he didn't play that much. He's not a pitcher, and he's got to get reps, and it's William Patrick. Like, this is a huge summer for William Patrick. He did everything at St. Frederick. It was a 1A school in Monroe. He played football where he was a wide receiver and a free safety and a punter. He competed in track. He did the long jump and the 4x100, and he played baseball. So you're talking about a 3-way football player, a 2-way track guy, and a baseball player. He has never focused on baseball in his life. And now it's just baseball. And guess what? William Patrick does not have to put on a bunch of weight. Like William Schmidt sat here in the studio with Matt Moscone's like, I was just drinking Smoothie King 4 times a day. Like, just trying to put on calories. Like that's one way that you've got to improve. Some guys got to put on weight. Some guys have to learn a new position, and we'll get to that. All William Patrick really needs to do, he's already big and physical, and he already knows how to play the outfield. He's got to hit. He's got to hit and hit and hit and hit and hit. And the example I always use all the time, because I think it's apt, and it's the best example of success, is Andrew Stevenson. Andrew Stevenson came in to LSU and hit 193 on the 2013 team that went to Omaha. He 193 for the season. Well, did he play 10 games? No. He played almost all the games. He was the center fielder for the last 2.5 months of the season. He hit 193. He went to summer ball, and I was watching, and I was pulling up the stats. This is right in my young sports writer days where that's all I was doing was watching statistics and stuff. I was like, he's hitting a ton in the summer league. And he came back as a sophomore and hit 335. As a junior, he hit 348, and he made the big leagues. And Andrew Stevenson, it's STM, was a wide receiver and had never focused on baseball. But you know how good an athlete he was. He's the best example of this. And I think William Patrick has some of those traits where he's a really athletic guy who's never focused on baseball, who's got some tools and got some playing time as a freshman but didn't hit a ton. William Patrick this year had 41 at-bats. He had 15 strikeouts, 5 walks, and 1 extra base hit. Like, he was overmatched at the plate. He's got to go hit. I don't care if it's the Northwood League. I don't care if it's Cape Cod. I don't even care if it's down here in instructional stuff and where they just let him face LSU pitchers. He's got to hit a lot. And I think that's something that's going to happen. I would bet William Patrick gets a full summer in. He won't play 40 games, but I bet he plays a lot and hits. It's a big summer for William Patrick. The next one, I don't know what they're going to do with him because they are very, very particular what they do with their pitchers. Maverick Rizzi went up there and made a couple of outings on Cape Cod last year, but they don't generally overextend pitchers. As I mentioned last year, Kason Evans was shut down. William Schmidt did not play in any games. Reagan Ricken, I'm intrigued by, and he only threw 19 and a third innings. So it wouldn't shock me at all if they got him 15 to 20 innings over the course of the next 2 months. I think that's a reasonable thing for him to do. He walked 11 guys and hit 7. That's 18 free passes in 19 innings. That's just not good enough. He's got to hone in his command. Ricken is another guy like Patrick that's never focused on baseball. He was a high school quarterback. He's been a football player his whole life. He is a guy that's going to put on some weight. He's 6'5", only 218. Not hard to see him at 6'5", 230. And the velocity will come with that. But he needs to hone in his delivery, needs to hone in his strike throwing. And that's something you can help do in the summer that are very low-stress innings. Yeah, the guys would like to win the game on that Tuesday night in the Northwoods League somewhere in Iowa or on Cape Cod. You'd like to win on a Tuesday, but it's not as big as the regional that we're watching here. So it's low stress. You can work on your mechanics. If you want to throw a bunch of fastballs, throw a bunch of fastballs. You want to throw a bunch of changeups, throw a bunch of changeups. But I think Reagan Ricken can help, and he's coming into a situation next year where there is not one spot on the entire pitching staff, not one, that is nailed down. None. So it's all out there for you. And I would like to see him get into the mid-90s, put on some weight, and throw more strikes. And I think at that point, you're looking at a really, really positive pitching prospect that LSU has in its system. So those are the first two. And the last one is Mason Braun. You're going, Mason Braun? Like, he just hit. He went like crazy. He did. He had a great season. Talking about a guy who hit over 300 in his freshman season. He had some huge weekends. this year against good competition. He had 5 hits against Florida. He had 4 hits at Georgia. He had 7 hits at Mississippi State. But he needs to work on 2 things. One is growing into that power. That's a term Jay Johnson used this year when talking about homegrown guys that grow into their power. He only hit 3 home runs. Now, he's got power in his bat, but he's got to grow into that power a little bit. And in summer ball, you can do that. Maybe you see a little bit lesser pitching if he goes to the Northwoods League. That's not as good a pitching as the SEC. Maybe you see lesser pitching and you get comfortable kind of getting to your pull side, or you feel comfortable hitting the ball the other way. His first home run here was an opposite field shot. But that's not really what I'm talking about as much with the power. It's going to come. Mason Braun is going to hit double-digit home runs his next 2 years at LSU. I'm very confident in that. What he has to do this summer is become a first baseman. And he didn't do a bad job this year. He did not do a bad job. But it's not his natural position. And I remember being on the call of a couple of games, A&M at home, and then at Mississippi State, where I'm watching him for 3 games in a weekend, and he makes some mistakes, and I go, yeah, he wasn't real comfortable with that. Like against A&M at home, there was a ground ball to the right side that was very, very clearly the second baseman's ball. And Mason Braun finds himself chasing it. So the second baseman then fields it and has to throw it to the pitcher covering, which is a way harder play. And it's just reading those type of things and getting comfortable with it. Yeah, you got to pick the ball. Yeah, you got to field ground balls. And I saw him try to get in front of some balls, and he let one get through him at Mississippi State. He needs to work on defense at first base. He is a natural outfielder, but if Jay Johnson's telling the truth and says that he wants to get very much more athletic next season as opposed to this one, Mason Braun playing left field is not the best athlete out there. Now, I've seen guys that weren't super athletes play left field at LSU. Gavin Dugas, Rafe Rhymes, you can play left field at LSU, and Mason Braun can play left field at LSU. But if you're talking about getting a really athletic outfield out there and playing Mason Braun at first base, well, he's got to get better at first base. So to me, 3 guys this summer that have to take strides, whether they're at Cape Cod, Northwoods League, playing with the Rougarou, or if they're in Baton Rouge or at home, getting work in individually. Reagan Ricken, William Patrick, and Mason Braun. And it's all different things. For Patrick, get ABs, hit line drives, get on base, steal bases. Reagan Ricken, put on some weight, throw strikes, maybe add some velocity entering your sophomore year. And if you're looking at Mason Braun, play some first base. Got to have that. Got to have it. Got to have it. That's our opening drive. What a heck of a ball game between East Carolina and Tennessee. Runners in scoring position being stranded left and right. It is still 1-1. I believe they're headed to the 8th inning there in Chapel Hill between a couple of good ball clubs, Tennessee and East Carolina. Auburn just getting destroyed by Milwaukee. It is 10-0 on the Plains in the 4th inning. Jake Marciano got 3 outs in this game. They went to LJ Cormier, who's one of their key guys out of the bullpen, to try to stem the tide and let the bats come back. Now they're down 10. You might have to wave the white flag. Good news for Auburn is that Jake Marciano is going to certainly be available on Sunday or definitely Monday because he didn't through 1 inning. But not the start they wanted to get off to on the Plains. Kind of a stunning deal. If you remember, Milwaukee opened the season here at the box. LSU just annihilated the Panthers for 3 days. They've shown up with a vengeance in their second stop in an SEC stadium, and they are very likely to win Game 1 there in Auburn unless the bats for the Plainsmen get cooking in a hurry. We're off and running here on this Friday, brought to you by Corks Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Check out that menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. Preston Guy talking a huge recruiting weekend when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Closet space is not something I think about a lot. It's not something certainly that I thought about when I bought my first home. But the girlfriend at the time, soon to be fiance and now wife, moved in and went, this is not going to get it. And we would have called David. I already had a great relationship with him, but we knew we were moving. So we didn't get a new closet. But when we bought a new house, we took closet space very seriously, and it's made a huge difference. If you are fighting closet space and a lot of clutter and trying to find places to put things, and you got suitcases somewhere, or something's got to go in the attic, or you got to use coats in the hall, well, maybe you can build a new one. Maybe you're not using your space as efficiently as you could. If that's the case, contact David and sit down and have that free consultation. Again, it doesn't cost anything to talk to David. If you're worried about payments, financing is available, 0% up to 18 months. It's One Bath and Closets. Find them online, onebathandclosets.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
We will certainly talk some football on this Friday. Got Saints OTA report coming up in about 40 minutes. Matthew Paris from The Advocate will jump aboard at straight up 2 o'clock. Right now, let's talk some recruiting. Preston Guy, TigerBait.com. Good enough to join us as he does on Fridays. Preston, how are you?
How's it going?
It's going quite nicely. Coach O's already taking pictures with 5 stars. You surprised?
This is the kind of weekend that Coach O just lives for. I imagine that this is like getting a hit of your favorite substance this weekend for Coach O. He's just been yearning for it, and he finally gets his chance to go at it.
Easton Royal is one of the guys that's on campus. Obviously, there's been a lot of buzz around the New Orleans product who's been committed to Texas for some time now. What's your read on that situation currently?
Yeah, committed to Texas. He's every bit of a 5-star, number 1 wide receiver in the country. Claims he runs a 4.29 40, and at the Louisiana track meets, he ran a 10.17 100-meter yard dash. He's muscular, chiseled. The film is there. This is just, every bit of a prospect that you look at and you say, man, if he turns out to be a bust, I'd be surprised. Yeah. But anybody can be. But I think it's one of those players, if you look at it from a broader point of view, what has made this LSU job so special over the years is a lot of this Louisiana speed talent that you've been able to keep home, right? Now, of course, NIL is a big factor. And, of course, LSU, Billy Glasscock, they're going to have to open up the pocketbook if they want to keep this kid home, which, that with Lane Kiffin and Billy Glasscock's recruiting strategy, they've liked to use their money for the portal and, take in high school kids with scholarships and develop them, right? Well, this guy might be the exception. So I do know he seems to be very interested in LSU. They've got Coach O on it. He's very much so aware of LSU's history with wide receivers. Obviously, he's from Brother Martin, 75 minutes up the road from LSU. They're going to do everything they can to roll out the red carpet. I just don't know if a red carpet's going to be enough. You're also going to have to open up the Chase account as well.
So as far as Royal in Texas goes, I know the recruiting game has changed, but Texas was not a team that came into Louisiana a lot over the last 15, 18 years. A&M has done it recently, certainly with Jimbo, and Bama was there a lot with Saban. But it's not a school that's been in Louisiana a lot. Now, in recent years, they've gotten a couple of guys. How do you feel? How important is it for LSU to fight off Texas for Easton Royal in that they don't get significant inroads in the state?
Yeah, that's going to be NIL all of a sudden rolls around, and then Texas starts poaching a few guys. I think in like the 10 years before, I can remember one recruit, maybe Toshiro Davis, who flipped on signing day. Yeah. But for the most part, it was basically Nick Saban as the consistent threat coming in. Every once in a while, you'd have to fend off, Miami or Florida, but it was mostly LSU and Alabama in for these guys for 10 years. This is, I don't know if this one recruit's going to change that culturally or not, but it would certainly be a big one to bring in and set the tone that you are going to lock down your own state. Worth noting this year, you're going to miss on Elijah Haven. He doesn't fit in the scheme. They don't think that, they want to invest the $5 million or whatever it might be they might need to be to get him. They're going Pop Houston instead. So you're missing a 5-star player in your home, not home state, home city.
Yeah.
You got Hudson on board, Albert Simeon. You're obviously going to work to get from North Louisiana. This is going to send a strong message this year. Is LSU willing to do what it takes with this new coaching staff and invest to keep its top Louisiana players home, or are they looking at this as they're going to do it the same way they did it at Ole Miss? Are they going to, recruit decently out of high school and use their money for the portal?
Well, one decent recruit out of high school would be Jalen Brewster, who's the number 1 player in the country for 2027, 5-star defensive lineman. He is here as well. He's committed to Texas Tech. What can you tell us?
Yeah, he's definitely committed to Texas Tech. Again, just similar to Texas. When a kid's committed to Texas Tech, they've got excellent financials. He's also from Cedar Hill, Texas, so have a home state play there for Texas Tech. Recently, LSU's been considered a distant outsider. I think getting this kid to flip would require a steep investment, but getting one of his 5 official visits tells you a lot. Tells you that he likes you, he's interested in you, and you're going to have a chance to get a good, solid at-bat at him this weekend. And I don't know that necessarily a few months ago you were one of the short-list schools you were talking about for him.
Xavier Saab is a wide receiver that I'm not as familiar with. That's a new name as far as my eyes are concerned. What can you tell us about the wide receiver?
Well, LSU offered him literally the first time 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
So LSU is just kind of coming out of completely left field. I almost wonder if that means that confidence in their ability to flip Easton Royal, maybe they're looking to develop a backup plan and invest those funds that they have offered to Easton Royal and shift them toward his, another highly recruited receiver. It's currently, Penn State, Alabama, and Rutgers as the home school team. He's visited Rutgers like 10 times or something like that. But we see that a lot with the local school. It's just so easy to drive up the road and take a visit. So LSU right now, outsider looking in. Again, another kid where you've got an opportunity to swing for the fences.
And another 5-star, there's a lot of them on campus this weekend. It's a star-studded visitor list, is Abraham Cisse, who is not considered, I would necessarily think, a lean towards LSU, but he has shown up a couple times.
Yeah, no, it's his second visit in the last 60 days. That's a big deal. But I've been talking with some Notre Dame sources, and they feel very confident. There was a little bit of disappointment that he didn't commit to Notre Dame before he started taking official visits. So maybe there's a door cracked, but I'd say the door's cracked. It's not wide open, right? I still think Notre Dame's the heavy favorite. If anything, LSU might be, looking to take a half-court shot with this guy. Of the guys we've talked about, I feel the least confident in LSU to land him. Even though he is uncommitted still, I still feel like Notre Dame stands in a really good spot to get him.
Now, Marquez Davis is a 3-star, but I checked his profile. He's 6'3". And when he's cornerback and Corey Raymond's interested, I go, okay, that makes a lot of sense. What do you feel about Marquez Davis from Opelousas?
Yeah, what might be even a stronger resume builder is he's from South Louisiana, right? Yeah. And we've seen a lot of these kids who might not necessarily be super highly recruited, but think about like Malik Neighbors, not super high recruited, but he comes in that Acadiana area. Of course, Marquez Davis from Opelousas, same general footprint that Malik Neighbors came from. These guys, strong track record. It's something about the Boudin over there, man. Yep. And he's tall. Corey Raymond likes him. Corey Raymond has certainly had an eye for talent and developed, quite a few low recruited guys. I'm trying to think who it was. Mo Claiborne was a 3-star prospect from North Louisiana, and Corey Raymond had his eyes all over him and turned him into a first-round draft pick. So that's the guy. If you're going to land a commitment this weekend, that would be the one where I would be most certain about that.
Yeah, as far as these big-name guys goes, you feel like it would be unlikely that anybody would pop this weekend. It's just kind of a shot for LSU to position themselves as you move forward.
Yeah, it would be unlikely. Easton Royal, obviously, of the ones I've mentioned, he's the one, the hometown kid, right? And also the one, he's committed to Texas, but he's been flirting with you for a very long time. That's the one I'd have to say had the best shot. I wouldn't expect it to happen unless some crazy development, but, you've got Ed O on the case, so you never know.
Do you think the fact that they brought in like 13 wide receivers this year hurts LSU in any way? I realize that a couple of them probably won't be here next year, but a lot of them will be. And does that matter?
No, because you brought out like 13 receivers.
Yep.
Too. I mean, you didn't. It's not like they're all high school kids either. I mean, they brought in 4 high school kids, I think.
Yeah.
Certainly talented high school kids, but it's not like this just colossal haul of young players that are going to impede your way. I think everybody understands LSU had one wide receiver on roster. What else are you going to do? Are you gonna roll out? All right, we got 4 high school kids and one kid returning. We're gonna roll in with 5 wide receivers and maybe a walk-on can fill in the role or running back, kind of like back in the 2010 days, like what they do. Like, this room kind of sucks, but we got a walk-on we feel pretty good about, like this Andrew Hatch kid.
Yeah, he can do it.
Yeah, we believe in him. Like, you would never see Andrew Hatch ever open a season as your starter in 2026. But I think I don't think that's going to inhibit anything.
Well, Preston, enjoy the weekend. I know y'all will be all over it at TigerBait.com. We'll talk next week.
All right, thanks for having me.
Preston Guy with TigerBait with us every single Friday, and our Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Check out the menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. We'll take a time out. We will come back. I want to go down memory lane, so we'll do that next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fabry Chevrolet GMC, FabryChevrolet.com, right there on Highway 61 in St. Francisville. I've been telling you. It is now the 29th of May. So you're running out of time if you want to get these incredible deals. If you want a 2026 Chevy Silverado at 0% APR for 36 months, you got a couple of days to get by. That is a 2026 Silverado at 0% APR for 36 months. Looking for a 2026 GMC Sierra 1500 at 2.9 for 72 months. Now until the end of the month to get by Fabry Chevrolet GMC. They've also got Chevy Trailblazers, Chevy Trax for as low as $30,000. They got new. They got pre-owned. They got SUVs, trucks, sedans. It's all there at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. You can see the entire inventory online at FabryChevrolet.com, but I highly suggest you go by and see them in St. Francisville on Highway 61. You'll get that great customer service, great buying experience, and that service that comes after the sale. It's Fabry Chevrolet. Check them out online, FabryChevrolet.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
GoTro's Outdoor Power, GoTrosOnline.com, GoTrosOnline.com. Want to get that zero-turn mower? Look no further. GoTro's Outdoor Power. Got a property to manage? GoTro's Outdoor Power. Again, they're online at GoTrosOnline.com, but that's not the only way to access them. 2 locations, Airline Highway in Baton Rouge and, of course, in Gonzales. GoTro family's been at it for 22 years. They've built GoTro's Outdoor Power into the largest hustler inventory in the state by far, and the largest parts inventory in the state. You can buy a zero-turn from one of the big box stores, but do you ever hear from them again? Maybe not. At GoTro's, they've got delivery trucks on the road 8 hours a day. They've got trailers for you if you need transportation to and from. It's the personal touch from a local company that you get from GoTro's Outdoor Power. So if you need a hustler, zero-turn, GoTrosOnline.com. It's GoTrosOnline.com. How about that? Big fly from East Carolina against Arvidsson, who is a really good left-hander. And East Carolina lefty saw it well and pumped it out to right field. So I believe they lead in the 9th inning. Auburn does hit a 3-run home run to cut the lead to 10-3, but War Eagle fell behind by 10 to start things against Milwaukee. They got work to do there at Plainsman Park. All right, look, here's the deal, y'all. I'm creating content here. I'm creating content for LouisianaSports.net. And, there's still baseball being played, but LSU's just not participating. And I didn't want to just give it up. So I thought about, what can I write about today? What can I talk about today? And I decided to do some positive thinking. Go back to a positive time. There's a lot of positive times. Right this second, not that positive. But there are a lot of positive times in recent LSU baseball. And I went back to my 5 favorite regional games under Jay Johnson. And just to go back, and there will be some names I drop in there that you go, oh, yeah. And there's some scenarios that you might have thought, oh, kind of forgot about that. You remember when these happen, but the way that things happen sometimes gets lost in the shuffle when you play in as many regionals and supers and as LSU does. So I'll start with my 5th favorite. We'll go down to my number 1 favorite. Number 5, Stephen Milam's walk-off in Chapel Hill against Wofford. And Wofford jumped out to a 2-0 lead. They played this small ball offense, sprayed the ball around, hit and run, and they led 3-1 in the bottom of the 8th inning. And Michael Braswell hit a home run to cut it to 1. And Jared Jones homer to tie the game right behind him in the 8th. So at that point, you got a tie ball game. Griffin Herring goes out there and sets him down in order 1, 2, 3 in the 9th. And then Stephen Milam hit his 2nd home run of the day to walk off Wofford and win that game to get them into the regional, the winner's bracket that next day against North Carolina. But if you remember, Long Island twice as the 4 seed on Friday night had a chance and a lead at the end of the game to beat North Carolina, and twice got beat. They hit a 2-run homer, I think in the 9th or in extras, to take a lead, and then gave up a 3-run homer. Like they had a chance, and if Long Island wins that game that Friday night, I think LSU is hosting a super against Ole Miss. So didn't happen, but Stephen Milam, no, it wouldn't have been against Ole Miss. It would have been hosting against somebody. Ole Miss was in 22. But Milam hit a walk-off in 2024. That was number 5. Number 4, this one does get lost in the shuffle, I think. It was truly one of the most absurd things I've ever seen. It was the first year Jay Johnson, 2022, and Kennesaw State led LSU 11-4 in the bottom of the 8th inning. 11-4. And LSU scored 10 in the 8th inning. 10. It started early and it kind of got some things going, hit a couple singles, but you're down 11-4. And then finally they get Cruz to the plate and he hits a 2-run double to give LSU the lead. Earlier in that game, in that inning, Trey Morgan had a 2-run single. It was the biggest comeback in the postseason in LSU history. And they ended up adding on and beating Kennesaw State in just a ridiculous Friday night game in Hattiesburg. And then the next night is number 3 when I was at a wedding for this one. LSU was down 4 in the 9th against Southern Miss, who was like 3rd in the nation in ERA. And you were down 4 in the 9th. And then Cruz leads off with a homer to cut it to 3. And then you got 2 outs. So you're down 3 with 2 outs and nobody on base. And Pearson singles, and Cade Doty hit a 2-run homer. Now it's 1. There's 2 outs, and there's nobody on, but it's 1. And then they hit Trey Morgan by a pitch. And I did not remember this part. Jay Johnson pinch ran Drew Bianco for Trey Morgan. Drew Bianco, who then stole a base and got to second base, and Jordan Thompson singled up the middle and tied the game. Like, I did not remember Trey Morgan being hit by a pitch, and then Drew Bianco stealing a base, and then Thompson singling him in. Again, I was at a wedding. I've told Jay Johnson this story. I was at a wedding. One of my wife's closest friends got married, and we got to the reception, and I had my phone out, and I'm watching on one of those, like, cocktail tables at the wedding, like, off to the side of the dance floor, and I'm looking around, and there's, like, 14 dudes doing the exact same thing I am, looking. And so LSU rallied to score 4 in the 9th, and ended up Paul Gervais came in and set the side down in order in the 10th against Southern Miss, and LSU got the bases loaded with 1 out, and Josh Pearson chopped one on the infield, and Josh Stevenson, Andrew's little brother, stormed in from third base for the walk-off winner. And at that point, I remember all these dudes high-fiving at this wedding, like they're probably cutting the cake or having the groom and the mom dance or something, and we're all high-fiving, running to the bar because LSU's won the game. I told Jay Johnson that story. He's like, man, that fires me up. I was like, yeah, it probably doesn't fire the bride up, but what are we going to do? That's what we were doing there in New Orleans at that wedding. But that was the crazy one in 2022 there in Hattiesburg. Now, number 2, and the last 2 are national championship regional memories. In 2023, remember the rain, right? So Ty Floyd goes out there, and he throws 3 innings, and the rains come. And it rained for 3 hours. So Ty Floyd's done. So they got to go to Thatcher Hurd, and he immediately gives up 2 runs, and it's 3-0 Oregon State in the 4th inning. And so at that point, Thatcher Hurd flipped it into another gear, as he did 3 times in his LSU career, and he ended up striking out a career-high 12. For Thatcher Hurd, it was this outing where he was incredible against Oregon State. It was obviously Game 3 it was 4 times against Wake in the elimination game, and then against Florida in Game 3 of the final, he was awesome. Then he was fantastic in Chapel Hill in the game that LSU had to win to get to the final. They had to win on Sunday to get to the Monday game. But in this game, he strikes out 12, and then the offense was allowed to come back into the game. Cruz hit a 2-run homer. Hayden Travinsky and Cade Beloso went back-to-back to put LSU ahead. But then Gavin Turley, who's a stud for Oregon State, tied the game in the 7th to make things really dicey for really good LSU team. And then Braden Jobert hits the homer to center field to give LSU an 8th inning lead, and LSU slammed the door. Gavin Guidry got the last out with a runner on first base against Oregon State. So that was number 2 there with Jobert, the 8th inning homer to give LSU the win over Oregon State. And the last one was last year. I will remember that game forever because I've been in that stadium for so many great games and great moments against great teams. But when Little Rock shows up and punches you in the mouth on Sunday, it wakes you up. Like Stony Brook coming in here doing that, I was like, oh my gosh, what? And Little Rock just punked LSU on Sunday. Like, the game was never competitive. Cano was bashing baseballs all over the place. They were making diving catches in center field. And then they come out and score 5 in the 2nd on Monday in the Game 7. So it's 5-1, and I'm in the press box, but you can sense the tension. It was not – no one had given up. Everyone was well aware that LSU, with Jared Jones and Ethan Fry and all these dudes, could come back from 5-1, 4 runs down in the second inning against Little Rock. But it was uncomfortable. And LSU got the bases loaded right after that and popped up, so they didn't score. And they loaded the bases the next time and got to 2 outs. And you're down 4, and the bases are loaded, and you can't strand the bases loaded 2 times in a row. And Ethan Fry pumps the double into the right center field gap. That was as big a swing as LSU got the whole season. It completely changed the mood in the box. And at that point, everyone in the Little Rock dugout knew, uh-oh. Everybody in the LSU dugout went, okay, let's go. And everybody in the stands went, we're going to win this game. And that was a huge, huge swing from Ethan Fry, who, by the way, homered in the first inning of that game and was in the middle of everything that LSU did all night long. Now, Luis Hernandez tied the game in the 6th with a home run. Because remember, that double by Fry only brought it to 1. And then Hernandez homered in the 6th. And then he added Hernandez added to the lead again with another home run in the 8th inning that gave LSU a bigger lead. And then Jared Jones hit a 2-run blast that snapped him out of a 3-for-19 regional slump and gave LSU the insurance they needed. And then Jay Johnson went to Anthony Ianson to close it out. Now, remember, Jay Johnson, a week prior to that in Hoover, when LSU didn't really need to win a game, but they felt like they might need to, so they started Cade Anderson against A&M and closed with Ianson. And Jay Johnson said he did that because he thought Ianson needed practice coming out of the bullpen because he might need to do it in the regional. And that's why he started Ianson in game 1 of the regional, because he had a better chance than Cade Anderson of coming back on Monday if they had to play on Monday, and they did. And it just kind of worked out beautifully where Jay Johnson planned for that in Hoover, and then it came to fruition in the Baton Rouge Regional just a week later. So those are my top 5 regional games from Jay Johnson's era. The Milam walk-off against Wofford, scoring 10 runs in the 8th inning to beat Kennesaw State in Hattiesburg. Then the next night, 4 in the 9th, send it to extras and walk off the host Southern Miss. Then Thatcher Hurd and Braden Jobert, incredible efforts against Oregon State after a long rain delay at the box in 2023. And then last year, 2025, Ethan Fry, Jared Jones, Luis Hernandez, Anthony Ianson coming back from 5-1 down to beat Little Rock, who incidentally is in Hattiesburg this weekend, and they'll try to do some damage to another host team as they'll play the Golden Eagles this afternoon there at the Pete. So I realize that y'all all remember that. I'm not going back into the Wayback Machine in 1991 to tell you something you never heard before, but I wanted some good vibes. And I'll tell you this, as going through those box stores to write this story on LouisianaSports.net and looking at some of the highlights that I found on Twitter that I plugged into the story, and it just gave me a little bit of a positive energy boost that I enjoyed on this Friday. I'd like to be at the box coming up here in an hour, but I'm not. So figured might as well do that. So we did. We'll come back and close out the hour next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge. SwingEasyGCBR.com is the website. Don't have a tee time for tomorrow, but you'd like to play some golf. Don't have 5 hours, but you'd like to play some golf. Not confident in the weather, but you'd like to play some golf? Well, you can at Swing Easy Golf Club. You can play Pebble Beach. Play Cypress Point. TPC Sawgrass. They got that tournament where they give the jacket out every year. You can play that course too. Test your skills. It's really realistic. I love it. You hit tee shots, you hit iron shots, you chip, you putt. It's a great time. So if you want to work on your game, you can do that. If you want to grab a couple drinks, turn on the regional baseball and crank some tunes and just hang out for a couple hours, you can do that as well. Become a member at Swing Easy Golf Club. It's a great spot to work on your game and have some fun on Saturday when you don't have to worry about the weather or 5.5-hour golf rounds. It's Swing Easy Golf Club. They're on Segan at Perkins. They're online at swingeasygcbr.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
In about 12 minutes, we'll talk to Matthew Paris from NOLA.com and The Advocate about Saints OTAs. Media was allowed to watch yesterday. Matthew was there as the rest of his beat mates, a lot of them are across the pond at my buddy's wedding. My entire Reveille staff when I was at LSU is there in Rome with one of our buddies getting married. And a lot of them cover the Saints. Kat Terrell is there. Luke Johnson is there. So we'll talk to Matthew Paris coming up here in 12 minutes about what he saw yesterday down in Metairie. I want to remind you about the Highland Insurance Group, online at highlandig.com, highlandig.com. Hurricane season is upon us, right? And it's been quiet the last couple of years, and we hope that's the case for 5 more. But we know realistically it's going to catch up with us eventually. Make sure your property policy is in place. Make sure your buildings are evaluated properly. Your contents are valued properly. How did you come up with that number? Make sure your deductible is right in line with your risk appetite. Make sure you know that you're not going to incur co-insurance penalties that aren't going to allow you to get your full payout. Make sure that your business interruption limit is properly set. So if you can't work because your building's not functional, that you're still making the income and able to meet your expenses that would generally happen if you were up and running. If that's stuff that you're not certain about right now, the time to think about that is not when the storm's in the Gulf. It's right now. So contact the Highland Insurance Group online at highlandig.com. Talk to Jonathan Carbo and his team. They have dozens of markets that can help you out with the property policy that fits your risk appetite properly. They can do that for you. It's the Highland Insurance Group. They're online at highlandig.com. There is some phenomenal baseball going on right now across the country. Liberty and Boston College are in the bottom of the ninth from Athens. And right now, Liberty has got a 4-3 lead. Kentucky and Wake Forest are tied at 5 in the ninth. Wake hit a home run to tie that game in the ninth inning. East Carolina is trying to finish off Tennessee. Right now, there are 2 outs and nobody on in the ninth. It's a 2-1 East Carolina lead, so I'll keep you posted on that as I'm watching it here in the studio. I've told you all a couple of times that it's been all Milwaukee there on the Plains at Auburn. Milwaukee's up 11-3 in that game. Florida not having any issues with Ryder right now. They're up 4-0 and held both of their front 2 starters. Texas is up 7-0 on Holy Cross. And oh my goodness, Tennessee has tied things up with 2 outs and nobody on in the ninth, a home run. The baseball is unbelievable right now across the country. Little old Little Rock, who I just told you about in the last segment, they just trail Southern Miss 3-2 right now in the 6th inning. Southern Miss better watch on Hel Cano and make sure he doesn't get to the dish. Kansas is elected to play the early game in Lawrence. They are up 4-2 on Northeastern in the 6th inning. The winner of that game gets the winner of Ole Miss and Arizona State, which I think is going to be awesome. Georgia Tech, the 2 national seed, one of my teams, Jordan. Georgia Tech not having a lot of problems. 22-3 over Illinois Chicago in the 7th inning. They have 22 runs on 22 hits to this point against the Flames. So it's a wild day of regional baseball, which we're accustomed to around here. We just don't have it this year. I want to talk about a couple of regionals, and then we'll kind of drop a little bit of the baseball for a while. A couple of regionals that I'm feeling some way about. I think A&M is not in trouble. I don't love their matchup because A&M does not have a starting pitcher. Like Shane Sadeo is going to go today against Lamar. He's not very good. And Landon Sim has been kind of their guy, but he's banged up, and I don't know how available he is. They don't have a starter. Now, their lineup is sick. I mean, they've got guys for days. Grahovic's awesome. Sorrell's awesome. We saw the freshman Wilson hit 3 or 4 home runs in Baton Rouge. Partita's a great freshman at third. Like, they can hit like crazy, but they don't have a pitcher. And USC does. They've got a first-rounder in Mason Edwards, who they are not pitching today. So if USC wins today over Texas State in College Station, I like USC against Texas A&M in the Saturday night game. And that would make things really difficult on Texas A&M. Now, they can hit their way in that ballpark with those fans through a lot. And they're probably the favorite to win it. But I like USC potentially in College Station. That's a 2. Another 2 I like is Ole Miss. Ole Miss is throwing Hunter Elliott today, and they will have their option tomorrow if they can beat Arizona State against Nebraska. Against Nebraska. Lawrence is Arkansas. So if Ole Miss beats Arizona State today, they've got Rabe or Townsend ready to go on Saturday night against Nebraska, a team that doesn't host a lot, hasn't hosted in years. And I just like having that 1-2 punch. And so for the same reason I don't like USC, because they don't have that, I love Ole Miss because they do. Now, anything can happen. Auburn sent their ace out there against Milwaukee, and he got 3 outs, gave up 4 runs, 5 runs, and was out of the game. Then they went to their top reliever, and he got ambushed and was giving up bombs to center field, and they're getting crushed by Milwaukee right now. So you never know. But I like 1-2 punches. I like starting pitchers, and I don't like where A&M is there, and I do like where Ole Miss is there. Now, if it's like Like Georgia Tech, doesn't really matter who you throw out there. You score 22 runs on 22 hits, you can kind of do whatever you want. But we'll see. And Auburn may come back and win this game. I mean, they're getting crushed right now, but they just hit another home run. That means it's 11-4. And they're behind the 8 ball. They got a long way to go, and they can't seem to stop Milwaukee from scoring. And the problem that Butch Thompson has right now is you can't go to your A relievers down 6 runs in the middle innings and burn through your entire pitching staff, including your ace, trying to beat Milwaukee. Like, so you kind of in the back of your head want to save some guys, and then the other side, you're like, well, maybe Milwaukee will let us score a bunch of runs, and we can come back. But it's just the worst thing you can do is burn through your pitching staff and lose. And that's on the table because you're down by 6. So just to look at some games around the country that interest me to this point, it's been an amazing day of baseball in Tennessee, down to their last out in the ninth, hit a home run to force extras in Chapel Hill. And I think North Carolina's probably just fine with that. If those two teams want to play for another hour and a half, I think the Tar Heels will be thrilled with that. I want to remind you all our Friday shows are brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Graduation party, Corks love to do it. Family reunion coming up, Corks would love to do it. Summer birthday party out at the pool, want to do a fish fry, Corks would love to do it. Check out the menu at corksfishandshrimp.com, and they'll be thrilled to help you out with your catering needs. If you missed any of the first hour, we talked to Preston Guy about LSU recruiting, specifically Easton Royal, who's on campus right now. What's the latest there? You can listen to that at Hunt on LSU or on demand wherever you find the Hunt Palmer Show. Also went down memory lane with some LSU baseball, regional moments, and some thoughts on LSU summer ball as well. In the second hour, we're going to start things off with Matthew Paris, who's with The Advocate and NOLA.com, talking Saints OTAs. Also have some more football in the second hour as well. So don't go anywhere. Hope your Friday's going well. We'll pause for Sports Center. Come back with more of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Boudreaux's Electrical Services. They're online at boudreauxelectrical.com. Neil and Melissa have been at this for 40 years, y'all. 40 years. And they want to make sure that their part of the world here in South Louisiana is prepared for storm season. And the best way to do that is to make sure your Generac home standby generator is installed and it's running properly. Those are two different things. One, get it installed by the local company, Boudreaux's Electrical Services. 2, make sure it's being mechanically tended to and monitored so that if there is a mechanical issue, which can happen, you've got a local team that can come out, take care of it so that when your power does go out, whether it's a storm of hurricane proportions or if it's just one of those afternoon storms that we get, you're taken care of. Give them a call at 985-397-1562. That's 985-397-1562 or the Gonzales location, 225-393-89. It's Boudreaux's Electrical Services. They are online at boudreauxelectrical.com.